Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session specifically to help a client that was dealing with long-term symptoms of severe anxiety and depression. And this had happened over a long period of time. And the problem with when these short-term symptoms of depression last for a long time, it then amplifies it. Because one of the key ways of coming to a diagnosis of depression is there is a lack of optimism, there is a lack of hope. And there is a psychological phenomenon known as learned helplessness. So when people try things and they don't work, they make an evaluation that other things also aren't going to work. And that can actually amplify feelings of hopelessness, which then increase feelings of futility and why bother, and the very biochemical reactions of depression, which is, low levels of the happy hormones, so things like serotonin and oxytocin, and it tends to create lots of feelings of stress or tiredness and those kind of things, which have their own things. They can lead to things like chronic fatigue and a lack of energy, which in turn reduces motivation to do the very things that would turn that situation around. And because of the self-fulfilling nature of some of these things, it's really important to highlight that if there are genuine biological causes, then we can say, right, they can't immediately be changed just by thinking differently. But there will be certain things that can be changed. So let's say, for example, you don't try anything because you think it's worthless. And you go from trying something small and feeling like you've made a tiny bit of progress, and that gives you a bit of dopamine. And then that makes you a bit more motivated to try something else. And because you try a few different things, it then gives you the confidence to do something you would never do. Maybe a long walk in nature, or it might be, something like meeting up with an old friend. And these little small things actually create big things over time. So the metaphor that you're going to hear in this hypnosis session uses this idea of a children's roundabout. Now, not every country uses the phrase roundabout. Here in the UK, it's this kind of circular thing that sits in a playground that you kind of sit on, you spin it round. And most people get the sense that when you use effort to spin a roundabout round, it takes less effort once the roundabout is moving because you've got the law of momentum. The analogy here for this client is that they'd had many, many years of feeling anxious and depressed and with low energy and hopelessness. So we can say the roundabout has momentum in a particular direction. Therefore, if we slow the roundabout and even get it to stop, it creates an opportunity to steer it in a different direction. And that comes from subtle changes consistently, little wins over time. And this is just to plant a seed of an idea of, well, let's look at what would slowing the roundabout mean, what would stopping the roundabout mean, and what would turning the roundabout in the different direction mean in relation to energy levels, optimism, hope, and good feelings. And therefore, that creates the possibility of a more optimistic future. Because if a tiny bit of progress is made, then you can have this kind of predictive element of thinking, well, if this continues, my life might be okay in a few years' time. And that itself makes the game more winnable because it gives the very biological resources and mental and psychological resources necessary to make that happen. I'm a big believer in self-fulfilling prophecies. So if you have had, let's say, feelings of tiredness, fatigue, quite often people with severe depression and anxiety tend to have chronic disorders, things like fibromyalgia, things like, kind of chronic inflammation and pain and things like that, because effectively the body is giving less of the very things that it would need to activate healing. When people are happy and in a good mood all the time, they have a stronger immune system. So all of these things are interconnected. So if you can relate to any of those kind of things, this analogy and thinking about a moment in the future that would be compelling, but also perhaps a moment in the past. Now, this particular client could recall a specific time, and I could pick up on the language. They were very mindful in this moment where they were accessing a resource state. And a great belief system that I have is that any feeling you can have in a moment means you can access it again. And in that place, they felt in a good space. So that gave them evidence that they could feel that way again. So things that I think could be useful if you feel that you might be in a hopeless or dark place, hopefully you'll get from this session. If you want something more bespoke, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule that free consultation call to explore working with me. But you might not need to. This session might help steer your life in a different direction, might slow or even stop that roundabout so you can spin it in a different direction. So ideally, to get the most from this session, find a quiet, comfortable place, ideally where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a slow, calm, relaxing breath. And as you exhale, give permission to start releasing emotions you've been holding on to for far too long. Scan your body for any clues of where those emotions have been hiding. And just decide as you breathe out, it's time to slowly but surely allow them to be released. So breathe in that wonderful feeling of calm and relaxation. And what if you were to let go of some of that sadness you've been holding on to? Interestingly, different emotions tend to be held in different parts of the body. Sadness sometimes feels like it's around the throat, the heart, sometimes the temple. Anxiety sometimes feels like it's there in the gut. Stress or anger maybe around the jaw. But I want you to breathe in and breathe out and scan your body for clues to emotions you're still holding on to. But also acknowledging that some of these emotions are no longer helping, they're hindering. I want you to get a sense that what if you've been holding on to heavy emotions for years now? What if it's time to let those emotions be released? So breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation, and just get a sense that those heavy emotions are starting slowly but surely to melt, dissolve, And just feel that slowly but surely they're leaving your body in that outward breath. And I want you to focus on any kind of heaviness around your heart. Just get a sense that any feelings of grief, loss, sadness that can be released without it meaning that you hold any less love for that person. Breathing in that feeling of relaxation and just allowing your body to let go. The deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you become. And just feel how good it feels for your body to unwind, release tension, and relax. As you breathe in, fill your lungs with calmness, and as you exhale, just allow yourself to let go of any tension in your shoulders, your chest, your arms and your legs. Feel your entire body just becoming heavier, limper and looser, more at ease, as though it's sinking into a state of comfort, safety, and relaxation. And as you continue to breathe slowly and steadily, you might notice a sense of calmness spreading through you, like a soft wave washing over your mind and body. With each breath out, allow yourself to sink deeper into this moment, deeper into relaxation, letting go of all that no longer serves you. And as you relax deeper and deeper, allow your mind to drift to a place of imagination, a place where anything is possible. And in your mind's eye, just imagine standing in a quiet park, a children's park, and it's a peaceful, inviting space with lush green grass and a gentle breeze. Feel that breeze, a breeze that carries the scent of flowers. And right in the center of this park is a roundabout, a children's roundabout. And as you step closer, notice something curious. The roundabout is spinning, but spinning without any children nearby. And I want you to see it spinning in what you decide is the wrong direction. And maybe that's anti-clockwise. But whatever direction you perceive is an unhelpful direction, see it spinning that way. And as you watch it, you sense that this backward motion represents some of the challenges you've been feeling. What if it moving this way has been causing the fatigue, anxiety, things feel like an uphill struggle. Everything feels like a drain. What if the roundabout moving that way is somehow linked to those feelings? And that's okay. Because as you stand there looking at the roundabout, I want you to get a sense that just because the roundabout has been going in a particular direction for so long doesn't mean it has to continue in that direction. I want you to recall a moment of optimism, a feeling of contentment, a feeling of freedom, a feeling of possibility. Allow your mind to take you back to a moment of blue skies and a breeze. And just allow yourself to re-experience that feeling. A feeling of possibility, of mindfulness. And when you feel that feeling again, let me know by nodding your head. And as you return to the roundabout, notice the roundabout is slowing down. And then recall a moment early in your career when you felt successful, accomplished, needed, respected. Imagine stepping into that memory, feeling all of those feelings, and when you feel those feelings, let me know by nodding your head. And then see that the roundabout is now even slower, perhaps almost grinding to a halt. I want you to take a moment now to place your hands gently on this roundabout that is almost stationary. Notice its texture, and maybe it's made of metal or wood or plastic, and maybe it feels cool or smooth beneath your fingertips. And as you place your hands there, I want you to ask yourself a question in the most positive, optimistic tone. What's next? And as you say it in that tonality, feel hope and optimism, and notice the roundabout starts turning in a different direction. It begins to move in that new direction, and we can call this direction progress. And the moment you notice that progress, feel joy, feel yourself smiling, feel hope returning, and just think of one thing right now that you can feel supremely grateful for. And when you can recall that thing to feel grateful for, let me know by nodding your head. And then see the roundabout picking up speed in that new direction. As you see the roundabout moving in that new direction, notice feelings of fatigue seem to become less noticeable, and scan your body for a feeling of energy. I want you to imagine that if you had a surge of motivation, where would you feel it in your body? Maybe you can already feel a glimmer of that motivation, like a phoenix from the flames rekindling. What if you act as if things will improve, and in doing so, the roundabout continues in that new positive direction, and the more it spins, the more there is to notice progress. And the more progress you notice, the more joy you feel. And the more joy you feel, the more motivation is unlocked. And maybe you can give this roundabout a nudge. Just imagine pushing it in that direction, enabling it to pick up speed. Every tiny step of doing something slightly different that represents a vote of confidence and belief in yourself feels like it's moving that roundabout in that new positive direction. And notice the more that it spins that way, the easier it is to keep it spinning that way, as you get a sense that this roundabout is creating momentum. Momentum for joy, for possibility, for hope. And as it spins, the question of what's next seems to change to what's next. The same words with a different tonality no longer feels heavy or uncertain. Instead, it feels like it's triggering a spark of curiosity, an invitation to explore, to grow, and to discover. As the roundabout picks up speed, feel a deep sense of gratitude for where you are. Maybe look at the blue skies, feel a breeze, and just feel the sense of hope for the future. A sense of excitement for where you could be heading. The glimmer of optimism expands, fills your heart. What if an intention creates the motivation, and the motivation unlocks the energy? Every time you make an evaluation of your value, you unlock more of the resources needed to make you more valuable. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a step worth celebrating. And whether you think of this roundabout or any roundabout or anything that rotates, a merry-go-round, a wheel, you will remember this moment, the power you have to slow things down, to reflect, to set an intention, and make tiny progress to turn the tide. What if it starts with one intention, one thing to be grateful for, one heavy emotion to be released? And as the tide is turned, it unlocks more of the resources needed to keep it moving in that new, wonderful direction. A direction that feels positive and aligned with who you are. And I want you to think about what progress would look like for you. Progress in the next few days. Progress in the next few weeks. and progress in the next few months. And when you get a sense of what's next, let me know by nodding your head. It's time to leave this roundabout of your imagination, but taking back all of those wonderful feelings with you. And the only thing to leave is those heavy emotions that no longer serve you. So leave them there, bring back the resources, bring back the optimism, and as you leave, notice that roundabout is still moving in that new direction. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect fully into the here and now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling grateful, optimistic, with an intention to do just one thing that represents progress for you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.